What's up, brand builders? Stephen Hurahan here on the Brandmaster podcast, and in this episode, I'm joined by Denny Kurien. Now, Denny is the founder and creative director at Rayvn, one of the top-rated branding agencies in Toronto, in Canada. Now, Rayvn previously provided brand design services, but extended their offering to brand strategy, allowing them to increase their rates from $4,000 to $60,000. And with their very first strategy client, they multiplied their project revenue, and the work they produced has now been nominated for multiple awards. In this chat, I talked to Denny about his journey from design to strategy, working with next level clients, and how incisive questions are the key to high impact strategies. So if you're interested in extending your services from design to strategy, and you want to hear from somebody who has made the successful transition, then don't miss this episode of the Brandmaster podcast. Welcome to the Brandmaster podcast, a show specialized in helping branding professionals and entrepreneurs to build brands using strategy, psychology, and creative thinking. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brandmaster podcast. And on this episode, I have Denny Kurien with me. Now, Denny is a student of the Brandmaster Academy, and he's the founder and director of Rayvn Design up there in Toronto. And Rayvn Design has been rated one of the top branding agencies in Toronto by Clutch.io. And they've actually been nominated for some awards recently. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to have a chat with Denny, have a chat about his journey to where he is at the moment, his experience with brand strategy, how that has impacted his business, his agency. So Denny, thanks for taking the time to join us on the show today.
All right, thank you for having me.
Now, Denny, you've been a student of Brandmaster Academy for probably a couple of years now. I think you were probably the first cohort of students that came through, and I remember talking to you, probably early 2020 or something like that. Tell me about your journey to where you are today in terms of your branding strategy, your branding agency. How has that journey been for you from, coming from university to setting up your own? Talk to us about that journey for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I went to university to study graphic design. So graduated with my BFA and MFA in design. And then worked in the agency world for a couple of years as an art director. Started as a designer, then moved on to art director, and then creative director after that. And then in 2018, me and my wife, we started our own little boutique branding and design studio here in Toronto called Rayvn. Now, when we started it, I had not heard, we didn't really deal much we were purely design. And that too, we would take on any work that came our way. Our usual design was not really based on strategy. It was more about filling out the questionnaire and what is your favorite logo? What does your favorite website look like? And we noticed that the designs we came up with was all based on personal preference. It was all about looking and seeing what is the top trendiest logo styles that are of that, 2010, 2020, what are 2018? What are the top trending kind of logo styles that, that's on YouTube? And that's what we would basically base our designs on. It's like, oh, is it on trend? Is it trendy? Not necessarily what was right for the client or the client's customers. So that, and plus we were charging like, $3,000, $4,000 for a whole brand identity package. And for us, we thought, okay, that was kind of the standard market rate, really. So, and then I saw a YouTube video. I think it was Chris Do talking about how much they charge for strategy. And I tried to get into the whole his whole pro group of because they have a pro program as well, and it didn't quite resonate with me. And then that was when I came across your offering at Brandmaster's Academy, where you were teaching strategy. And I really liked the really simplified way in which you taught strategy, and it kind of clicked for
Mm.
me. And then we started using that in in basically all the kind of work that we did. And the work that you speak of that just recently won, got nominated for the Webby Award, which is a law firm branding that we did called for Normand. It's a law firm out in Orlando, Florida. They were the first clients that we applied the whole brand strategy principle to. And it was funny because, initially, we would never have thought of charging, like anywhere the kind of stuff that we charge. We charge like close to 25, 30K for a brand identity design project, where, usually we would be charging the same, like $3,000, $5,000. And it was all thanks to the strategy, and thanks to a lot of the things that were discussed in the Facebook group in the Brand Masters Academy. So it was extremely helpful, and we delivered a really good product at the end, and got accolades because of it.
Yeah, and we'll jump into that because like it really is, it's beautiful, beautiful work. And yeah, we can talk about the industry that they're in and the thinking behind the strategy. But before we kind of get to that point, take us back a little bit to, to the moment that you had this epiphany that, you were charging $3,000 to $4,000, and you thought to yourself, well, there's something more. You mentioned, you heard that Chris Do was talking about how much they charge for strategy. When you had this epiphany and this realization that strategy could be, the next stepping stone to something bigger, what was that challenge like in terms of crossing that bridge and finding out more about strategy? Where were you, and what did you feel that you needed to know? Because I know from my point of view, when I started to look for this kind of information, there wasn't too much. The future wasn't out there. There wasn't any of that stuff. And I reverted to books because that's all that was there. What was your kind of, from epiphany to finding the information that you needed? What was that like?
I think when we, like I said, when we first started, we always used to price things based on deliverables. And it was like, how much does a logo cost? How much does a website cost? How much does, it was almost like picking out of a Chinese menu.
Yeah.
Like we would have prices attached to that. The problem with strategy is that it's not something you can touch or feel or tangible. Was, I guess the biggest challenge was describing to client why they should buy into strategy in the first place. So that was something that we needed to kind of figure out. But more than that, it gave us like a sandbox to kind of play in. Like the way you talk about, being able to treat brands like human beings and giving them a personality, the way a brand should look like, sound like, act like those were all things we used that words verbatim, and we described to our client. Even like Norman said, look, you want more. You don't want just a logo design. That's not what you want. What you need is a brand that basically feels human, a brand that has personality. And so we need to do this upfront work, and do the discovery, do the intensive. And like for me, that was kind of like just trying to be able to even put those in words and being able to sell that to a client. That was like the part where it's like, oh wow, like this is powerful stuff.
Yeah. So for those who are listening who have not taken Brandmaster Secrets, the intensive is kind of the lead product that allows clients to come in on a low investment level, and allows the strategist to kind of not flex their muscles, but really kind of educate them on the value of strategy, so that by the end of that session, they're ready to go all in on a full strategy. So when you had that framework and you had, the steps that you needed to take, obviously Normand turned out to be a hugely successful project for you. What was that whole journey like, taking them through from intensive to strategy to design to handover? Because obviously you were implementing a framework that was new to you. Of course, the framework gives you the steps, but you have to go out there and do the steps. Talk to me about implementing the Brandmaster Secrets framework for the first time with Norman.
It was extremely nerve-wracking. I
Yeah.
felt like I was building the plane as I was flying it. But like it was, but for some reason, once you started getting into it and started doing the intensive, the most revealing, I mean, the stuff when the client basically starts nodding their head to everything that you say, that's when you know, all right, we got this in the bag.
We got it.
This is going to work out.
That's it.
And he was basically like, yeah, after, even for just a very small investment up front, we basically took him through, just to give him a little bit of the taste, almost like a push on what his brand could be. And he was sold after that. And yeah, here's the full amount. Let's just make it happen.
So you use the intensive as in Brandmaster Secret. So it's done as the presentation and kind of the educational platform. And from that point, that was it. That presentation was pretty much your sales pitch and an education as well, and they were ready to jump in. Talk to me about how you picked the pricing level you did, because if I'm not mistaken, was this a $60,000 project in total, or this was a different one?
Oh no, this one was I think we paid, like, just design and everything, it came to about 30, and then development was like another I believe it was like 20, another 20.
So running through the strategy with the client, you said you were getting that feeling, the nodding of the head, and that feedback, which is awesome. That's exactly what you're looking for. How was the brand development process with them, and the communication and the collaboration along the way? Is that something that you felt that they were engaged in, that they were happy with, they were bought into?
Yes, especially after we did the intensive, a lot of the stuff that we presented afterwards, like mood boards and what is their archetype and everything, it just, they were like, yeah, that's totally me. That is exactly me. It's so funny for a law firm to have an outlaw archetype. It's almost like so weird, but like that's exactly what the owner, Ed Normand, is. He is that maverick entrepreneur. He's that guy who does not, follow the status quo. And he wants to ruffle feathers.
So I think that's a good segue into jumping in and kind of showing this work, and showing a little bit of this magic that you've created here. So I'd like to first jump into your brand first and foremost. So this is Rayvn Design, and you like it's a beautifully presented site with your work, but you also have a personal brand site as well, Denny Kurien. So, and I know that a lot of people kind of come to this crossroads of, how are we going to present our work? Are we going to be an agency, or am I going to be a personal brand? How have you dealt with that, and how are you juggling both your personal and your business brand together?
Yes. So our business brand, Rayvn, we consist of about 8 people altogether. But my personal brand is where I'm out on social media. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn. That's where I basically, I put out content. So Rayvn isn't fully, it's not quite out on social media, but Denny Kurien, the brand, is. And that's just because I do a lot of, face talk directly to camera. That's me. And, I'm talking Denny Kurien, and Denny Kurien, if they want, they can go to my personal website where they, it basically says that I am the creative director of Rayvn. And that's pretty much how I kind of look at it. Eventually, as I scale, I will need Rayvn to now then kind of like almost, kind of come to the forefront and kind of do a lot of more of that heavy lifting. I would have to hire people who are on social media, in which case I will not be using my own personal brand. I would have to be using Rayvn as the brand to go and put out content and so on.
I might ask you a bit more about scale in a bit, but I just want to take the time at the moment to have a look at this brand and this identity. So here's the before and after.
Yeah.
And as you can see, this is what you would expect a law firm to look like. In fact, you know, if that bar there was blue, it would be pretty much cliched. And you know what we can see here is just completely the opposite. So this is absolutely beautiful work, and we can see here that it's awarded by Awards and the Webby Awards, which anyone in web design will know those as you know, amazing award sites where you find the best of the best work. And let me just jump into this website here. So yeah, this as you said is you know, a completely outlaw brand. It's going against the grain. It's not doing what the rest of them do. Can you talk to me about the strategy of this and what you found from the work that you did, digging into the analysis and the research for this brand to come up with this strategy? Talk to us about that strategy process, particularly for this brand.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we did the discovery, what initially when Normand, you saw their previous website, they were like every other generic law firm out there. They didn't really have a strong positioning. They would do all kinds of law. They would do corporate law. They would do civil law. They would do class action law and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, they thought that their audience was basically everyone, people off the street. But then when we dug in further, we asked them, okay, out of all the work that you've done so far, which one has been your most profitable? What kind of law or cases have you basically managed to get the most amount of wins? And they said, well, that's interesting. Turns out that we've gotten a lot of victories in class action lawsuits. So that's when we decided, okay, let's circle that. And let's drill down a little bit more on that. It's the kind of clients who come to you. Are they people straight off the street? Like, who are you trying to target? And they said, no, it's not your average Joe who kind of contacts us for these kind of things, because these are people, like, they go up against the like really big conglomerates. Like, they will take Disney to court. They will take Geico Insurance to court. And it turns out that the kind of clients that they're targeting are not the average Joe who just got into a car accident and wants to file a lawsuit. No, these are actually referring lawyers and judges. So it's a very different, all of a sudden, it's a very different mentality when you're targeting those kind of clients, because one, they're, you know, class A ruler archetypes. They're looking for the best of the best. And they want to see the kind of case studies that you've already worked on. They place a lot of emphasis on case studies. And so if you scroll down on the website, Normand website, as you can tell, really bold typography and colors, but there's a section that basically talks about, these are the cases that we're currently working on. These are the cases that we won. And you can view on that, the white section over there, if you just scroll down a little bit more. We are strategy. Here we go. So you can see right there, the status, one, Geico Insurance. Like, these are like people who are referring lawyers and judges. They want to know that you are a heavy hitter and you can go up against these big giant Goliath companies, you know, and that's what they're looking for. And they're interested in going into the detail. Whereas, you know, an average consumer, they wouldn't care about any of these things, you know. These are obviously judges and lawyers that they have as testimonials. So all of a sudden you're talking to the kind of verbiage you use is you're using a lot more of that law language. You're using case studies to basically talk directly to that kind of audience. So like the amount of inquiries they got, it's just gone totally, you know, off the roof, because they're not, all of a sudden you're not catering to everyone. You're not talking to the average Joe. You're talking to lawyers and judges who own other law firms, but know that Norman is really niche when it comes to class action lawsuits, and they have a good track record of winning class action lawsuits.
And this just goes to show the, you know, the premise of strategy, and you know, the sign of a great strategist are the ones who are able to ask those types of questions that provide those types of insights. Because, you know, had you not asked the question, well, you know, where have you had the most successes, and you know, what types of cases or people are these, you would not have landed on, first of all, the stereotypical ruler archetype client, and you know, the class action that has become, you know, the cornerstone of their position. And you know, when we compare that to, you know, what they looked like before, you know, going after everybody, you know, this just would not, this would just blend in with everything else. Whereas you land on this site and all of a sudden you're like, okay, now you have my attention. And then, you know, the rest just, and look, that's, you know, that's part of what we do. It's understanding the client, it's understanding the environment, and putting together a strategy to make those connections. I want to talk to you quickly about imposter syndrome. Now, obviously you're running this strategy for the first time, and you're dealing with Ed here, who clearly knows his stuff and is dealing with, you know, big time people, and obviously can smell BS and doesn't take any shit. Like, talk to me about dealing with him and that level of client with your strategy process.
Well, it's interesting because Norman was a very interesting kind of character. It took a while to. He gives very short answers. So, you know, like you really had to dig in to basically get him to be comfortable to talk, like, you know, like he talks like a lawyer.
Yes.
You know? But then when we started talking about, like, you are the, you know, the outlaw or the maverick archetype, what we referred to was like, well, there's another rebel archetype that you might like, which is Harley Davidson. And, you know, lo and behold, all of a sudden that just clicked to Ed, because, you know, he's a big biker fan.
All right.
I was like, yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah, I know Harley Davidson. I know that. Yeah, okay, I know that brand. And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you got to talk to them. That's why I think it's so important. Like when we present archetypes, just like you do, we have like a fictional character there. So, like, you know, for the ruler, it's Don, you know, from The Godfather.
The Godfather.
Mr. Corleone. So, like, and that was actually one of the mood board images that we used. Was like, look at the lighting that Francis Coppola does on, you know, that there's that famous iconic shot of Don Corleone, and he was like, yes, I like that. I like that powerful lighting. Yeah, okay, I can make sense. When you start talking on that level, when you start talking in terms of using pop culture, things that he can relate to, Harley Davidson, The Godfather, all of a sudden you're talking on his level. Yes, I can understand that, like, because, you know, now you're relating to it. It's not just all pie in the sky, all that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, I want to be The Godfather.
And I want to jump in right there, because I know that there are a lot of naysayers or you know, people who call out different tools that different strategists use as bullshit or things like that. And archetypes are really just a tool of connection. It's really a tool to find out who your audience is, to find out who your client is, and then connect with them through things that they already know. And if you can tap into what they already know and what they already believe and where their passions are, then you have the hook, then you have the in, and that's when they open up. And as you said, here's Norman here giving these lawyer answers, and for a lot of people that would be very, very intimidating. You might think to yourself, well, I'm getting nothing out of this guy, you know, how am I going to do this? And then, you know, the imposter syndrome sets in, and then you start to doubt yourself. And then Norman, of course, sees that because he's a lawyer and he can spot these things, and then all of a sudden it all falls apart. But being able to really break through that and get to who he is as a person, I mean, that is the power of archetypes. Now, archetypes are not for every and all situations, but for anybody out there who thinks that archetypes are BS, this is a perfect example to show that they are just a tool of connection. And if you're able to use archetypes as a way to make that connection with your client, then that could be the exact thing that you needed to open that client up and start this great relationship that results in such a great product, a great end result. So this got nominated for awards, the Webby Awards and the awards website. Did you get notification of that? How did that happen?
Yes. So I believe it was one of the developer who was working on the Norman site. He actually submitted it to the Webby Awards. I mean, it was very proud of the work that we did, and he submitted to the Webby Awards, and lo and behold, it was I think out of like 10,000 sites or some ridiculous sites that were submitted, that particular one in the law category, they have to have websites that fall in like law firm websites, got nominated. So they were like, and that's like a very small number of sites, and majority of them all look like typical law firms. Really, they have the leather books on the ivory tower, all that, the mallets and everything. So yeah, I mean, just being nominated and being part of that, it's a real honor. And
so moving forward with Rayvn now, and the processes that you now have in place, and obviously Norman was the first time implementing the kind of Brandmaster Secrets framework. How has that gone since then with other clients, and where do you see this going? You talked to me earlier about scale, and we do talk about scaling in the right way in Brandmaster Secrets. How do you see scale happening for you, and what's your vision for Rayvn in the future?
Yeah, I would like to be able to, like with Norman, I was the one conducting the strategy. I was the one basically doing that. I would like to now be able to hire teams in place whereby my role is purely being the rainmaker. I bring in the client, and then be able to have people who will be able to run the strategy, create the brief for the designers, and so on and so forth. For me, it's more of like, I want to be able to bring in the clients, and I want someone else to be able to do that, because I feel like sometimes I'm being the bottleneck because I need time to, construct the strategy and so on and so forth. But so for me to scale, I need someone else now to be able to put together the strategy and, do all that, so that I'm purely just kind of the rainmaker and kind of bring in the clients, and so on and so forth. So that's how I'm hoping to say it.
Well, that is the next level. And, we speak about this, you have to identify the tasks that you can let go of first and foremost. And I think that to scale a strategic agency, probably the last thing you let go of is strategy, or the last thing you trust somebody else with is strategy, because that is the crux of your business. But once you're able to do that once, then you can do it again and again, and then you're able to focus on just marketing and just selling your business, and that's where the real growth happens. But it's been great having a chat with you, Denny. It's been great to see your progress and the beautiful work that you're creating, and to see the Brandmaster Secrets framework in action, to be able to produce such a great result for Norman, and to be able to produce such a happy client as well. And no doubt, you're going to be producing more and more clients in the future. So it's been good chatting with you, Denny. Thanks very much for taking the time out of your day. And
thank you.
No doubt I will see you in the student group before long.
All right. Sounds good, Stephen.
Thanks, Denny. Cheers. Bye-bye. We really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks so much for listening. If you want to learn more brand strategy techniques to level up your skills, make sure you check out brandmasteracademy.com. There's plenty of free resources and premium content for you to download and get you going. If you'd like to join our Facebook group full of like-minded brand strategists, all learning from each other, then find us by searching for the Brand Strategy Community, where you can find exclusive content for members as well. If you enjoyed this content, please be sure to give us an honest review on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listened, and make sure you tune in for the next episode of the Brandmaster Podcast.